Ah, the great outdoors. Isn't this great? But I know you're busy watching videos, so let's get this over with so you can get back outside. Hey everybody, Dave Edwards, Treasure Valley Dave here, your great real estate agent by your side when it comes time to buy a home, sell a home, or relocate to the Treasure Valley. And if you're going to be doing any of those things, obviously you're doing your research, and we've got some great short little videos, just kind of like a little smorgasbord all put together for you today to check out. You know, in California, the real estate market, yeah, it's tight right now, but not for everybody. What? 1 in 4 Los Angeles home buyers pays in cash. Well, let's check it out. Home sales might be in a summer slump. Well, yeah, kinda. But in Los Angeles, the luxury market is bucking the trend. Do you guys feel like you're being bucked? Fueling some of those sales are celebrities and foreigners who aren't afraid of paying the mansion tax. They are the wealthiest people in the world, and they're not affected by rates and economies. Well, of course they're not. These two people from the examples in the story are just one of dozens of examples that demonstrate the renewed strength of the luxury market in this area, California, LA. In fact, the couple's purchase wasn't even the highest paid. No, this one down here at $67.5 million. Cash buyers in LA County, let's see, 24% of them, 54, 56. Man, 10 million plus. That's a pretty nice house. So who's buying? Celebrities are an obvious clientele for high-end properties in the star-studded Los Angeles. But there's been an influx of foreign buyers too. With the international purchases making up nearly 15% of luxury sales. Who is it? It's Chinese and Canadians. Who'd have thought? There's a variation of tech billionaires, hedge fund owners, finance people. It's a variety. These buyers aren't fazed by interest rates or economic jitters like typical home buyers are. You know who else isn't fazed by economic jitters and interest rates? The homeless, the crackheads out on the street, the people that are sleeping in statue positions on the curb. They're not fazed by those interest rates or economic jitters either. Hey y'all, no, we're not in Appalachia, but we're talking about Wyoming. Close enough? Probably not. Fed Chair Jerome Powell signals September rate cuts in his Jackson's Hole speech. Interesting. That's him right there. That's the guy who impacts your mortgage payment on a monthly basis. So what's going on here is Jerome Powell is saying the balance of risk and the economy could be shifting away from inflation and towards rising layoffs. So his speech might be part of political pressure. It followed months of pressure from President Trump and his allies on the Fed to cut interest rates. There's some people out there that are saying that Jerome Powell, who doesn't agree with Trump on like anything, is trying to keep rates higher to cause political backlash against Trump, a way to punish Trump. Financial markets clearly interpret Powell's comments as signaling a rate cut at the Fed's next policy meeting on September 17th. So we have that to look forward to. So this is what we're talking about right here, mortgage rates and federal funds rate. So obviously Jerome Powell has more to do with the federal funds rate, but you can see down here that the peach color is the federal funds rate and the mortgage rates are this red color. And you can see how they pretty closely track. So when the Federal Reserve raises the funds rates, mortgage rates go up. So what goes up must come down. So let's see how that goes. Get ready to move. I mean, if rates come down, we don't know how long it's going to be. Maybe Jerome Powell has another hissy fit and rates go back up. Bust a move, people. Bust a move. Property ownership. Family farms. Americana, right? Makes you think of Mr. Douglas from Green Acres. Going on now, U.S. farmland owned by Chinese companies. What to know? Chinese investments in the U.S. agricultural land are dispersed nationwide with the largest concentrations in Texas, North Carolina, Missouri, Utah, and Florida. So here's a map of the entire country and where all these purchases are at. Oh my gosh, looks like the Chinese own California, maybe in more ways than one, right? And it's certainly influential in Texas. North Carolina is just craziness over here. We've got Florida right there. And we do have a little bit over here in Canyon County. The Chinese got 146 acres here in Canyon County. That's where Nampa and Caldwell are. Is that a big thing? I don't know. Could be the nose under the camel's tent. But there are some places, oh my gosh, look at California, Florida. So what are they growing down there? Well, that's a good question. White House Senior Trade Advisor Peter Navarro at a press conference last month cited Sun Tzu's classic treatise, The Art of War. The acme of war is to win without firing a shot. How do you do that? With money. Agriculture is not just about feeding a family, but about protecting our nation and standing up to foreign adversaries who are buying our farmlands. These two, Navarro and Rollins, were referring to the purchase by Chinese investors of large swaths of U.S. land, often near military bases, and it's not always just farmland either. Meanwhile, 30 U.S. military installations now have Chinese-owned agricultural land within 150 miles. According to the USDA data, 14 of those parcels are located in the same county as military bases. A little aside here, I came from California down by Travis Air Force Base, and what are they doing? They're building stack and pack houses right up to the fence of the base. Why? I don't know. Maybe they're going to try to eventually bring some lawsuits and say, hey, the base is making too much noise. We need to shut it down, because I guess that's another way. I don't know if those people are Chinese or not, but it's the same type of a thing. You use your leverage, you use your money, you use your lawyers, you shut down the military. Then what? Small number of companies dominate the Chinese ownership of the U.S. agricultural land. You know who the biggest Chinese company is that holds the agricultural land here in the United States? It's Murphy Brown. I mean, what's next? Sam and Diane. Hey, Norm. Hey, are you a home seller in California or someplace else nationally that feels like your home's been on the market forever and just nothing's happening? Well, you're not alone. According to the Epoch Times here, homes are taking longer to sell as inventory spikes, says a report. 1 in 5 sellers are now cutting prices. That's 20% as the housing market tilts in favor of buyers. Oh, what's that meaning? So as of the week ending July 19th, homes are sitting on the market for 8 days longer than they were a year ago. Okay, 8 days, that's almost a week. Any Beatle fans out there? The median time that homes sat on the market hit 58 days nationally. In some places, like up here in the Treasure Valley area around Boise, it's closer to 30, sometimes up to 40. It's been fluctuating this year, but not 58. We're nowhere near that. Despite more inventory and choices for buyers, high home costs kept them at bay. And why is that? Well, a lot of people see those interest rates, so they're just waiting for the interest rates to come down a little bit. Quote, the lack of significant buyer response to substantial gains in for-sale inventory has pushed many sellers to reduce prices. The price reduction share reached roughly 1 in 5 homes. That's 20% in June, the highest June share in the data's history. And history does go back a ways, doesn't it? So what's this mean? It means that your house is on the market in California. The reason why there's more inventory is because no one's buying. And that might well be the case everywhere else. It's not so much up here in the Treasure Valley. We still have pretty strong demand. But nationally, that's what's going on, is that buyers are not buying. They're waiting. They're sitting on the sidelines, probably waiting for interest rates to come down. But you know what? They may not come down. Prices might continue to inch their way up as they traditionally do. So if you need to buy a house and it makes sense for you to do it right now, if it makes sense for you to change where you live because you're done with the society that you're living in, check out Idaho. Hey, Dave Edwards, Treasure Valley Dave, treasurevalleydave.com. You've probably heard of me before, but anyway, I want to tell you about today. We have this story from our friends over at the Epoch Times, the great delisting. Home sellers scoff at peasant prices. Well, what is that all about? So this is an opinion piece from the Epoch Times, and I think they bring up a lot of good points. The bid-ask spread in housing market persists. Since roughly 2023, after benchmark interest rates began rising in 2022, slightly cooling capital markets, this is no longer the case. Buyers couldn't afford high prices even before 2023, yet paid them nonetheless due to the presence of an artificially low interest rates. Now, however, prospective home buyers are making offers that undercut the list price substantially. But rather than finding a zero of potential agreement and clearing the market, sellers are taking their house off the market altogether. I don't know. It seems like some writers get paid by the word and not by getting the thoughts out there. So what this is saying is that interest rates were low before and they help people buy houses that they probably shouldn't have been able to buy, but they bought them anyway. And so now sellers are still saying, hey, those higher prices, that's what I should be getting now. But the market's not saying that. So instead of lowering their prices, they're just taking them off the market. So this guy says it's still a seller's market out there. Clearly, there is no pressure for sellers to sell. Most have mortgages that carry half the interest rates prevailing today. Yes, we do see that quite a bit. If you bought your house within the last 4 or 5 years, interest rates on that thing is probably pretty low. Most of them are also sitting on huge amounts of home equity built up over the course of the last several years as asset price inflation has raged. So what he's saying there is that values went up. There's a lot of equity there. And we've seen these numbers too. Baby boomers are sitting on like $17 trillion, $18 trillion worth of home equity. The article goes on. Most analysts have argued that the deluge of delisting indicates seller frustration, but this is misleading. Combine the previously described dynamic with the fact that median list prices have essentially stayed the same since 2023, and it's clear that sellers remain in control of the market. Yeah, I don't know what that's all about, but whatever. I guess, like I said, this guy gets paid by the word. Sellers may be slightly perturbed that their demands are not being met immediately, but it is buyers who remain frustrated and lacking control. Well, that very well may be true. And while technically it still may be a seller's market, it's not as much of a seller's market as it used to be, and it's leaning more towards, not there yet, but leaning more towards a buyer's market. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe all the headlines. It's not all gloom and doom out there. Maybe someplace else, but right here in the Treasure Valley, we're not doing too bad. Hey, so what'd you guys think of that? Pretty good information right there. Do you have any suggestions, anything in particular that you'd like to have me address? Give me a holler, leave a comment, something like that. And if there's something we can do to help you with your real estate research, your selling, your buying, maybe you're even going to relocate up here to the Treasure Valley, give me a Marina call, text, email. We'd be glad to help you out. Go to the website, www.treasurevalleydave.com. A lot of great resources there. And then we will see you on the next video.